Bonjour les amis, comment ça va aujourd'hui? Ça se plaît? Tout le monde a une bonne tasse de café? Ouais? A good cup of coffee is a great way to start the day. I like it in the middle of the day as well. Du bon café. Dans la Louisiane, on a du bon café. We sure do have some good coffee in Louisiana. Encore, je suis Kirby Jambon. I'm Kirby Jambon here to present for you another lesson in Louisiana French. And I'm so thankful that you've been able to benefit from these lessons. Hopefully I'm getting a little better at videoing and presenting these lessons as we go on, as I'm used to teaching in front of people and not necessarily recording videos. But during this time period, it is something I'm enjoying doing, and hopefully it's helpful. And again, for those of you who are first time joining us, please, you can go back to the very beginning of lessons. This will be our 13th and a half lesson, I guess. And we have lessons, go back to lesson 1 on the YouTube channel. And if you would like some paper documents to go along with it that I'll be using, please just Facebook message me and I will add you to the Louisiana French Lessons chat group. And the documents will be attached there, and you can ask questions and make comments there at that time as well. Okay, dokie? C'est bon? It's good, huh? All right. Couple of things I want to point out that for those of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel, there are other things besides Beginners Louisiana French on there, and they're written in French, so in case you weren't able to grasp what they were. I am a poet, and so there's some of my French poetry that I've read on this little playlist with French poems. And there's also, as an elementary school teacher, I read a couple of children's books in French. I teach in a French immersion program where my students speak French all day and they learn in French. And so I read these books. Like one of those books is that book right there, Bé pour Bayou, and the other one's a story. I'm hoping to get some more books, but since we're not in school now, all of my books are at school, so I'm hoping to get some more books that I could read for kids as well. And then there's another one called Discussion. Discussion pour le, I don't forget the exact name, mais pour Discussion du français louisianais pour les francophones. That's a discussion about Louisiana French for people who already have a good knowledge of speaking French, whether they're native French speaker from another country or native French speaker from Louisiana, or they've learned French and they have a good knowledge and they're able to discuss it in French. So you might be able to benefit from that depending on your level of of French that you do have. That's what we've been doing, and so you can have a look at those things. Just a point of reference is that when in those other three, I will be using a combination of probably Louisiana French and International French when I discuss things. When I read the stories as well, there's always a combination because some of the students in the French immersion program had not had much experience with the Louisiana French speaker. Some had more. And so it's going to be kind of a combination of that. And my poetry is like that as well, since it comes out sometimes in Louisiana French, sometimes in a French more international, but the way it comes out is the way it comes out. So, but you're welcome to check those out as well. Last time for this lesson in Louisiana French, I had asked you to do a homework page in the packet. It was page 11, and it was on le temps. It looked like this. And you had to use the Louisiana Cajun French website in order to do it. And so we're going to go through that today. That's going to be our lesson for today, talking about le temps, which is the weather. If you recall, we talked about le temps can also mean time, but there were 3 words for time: le temps, l'heure, et la fois. And they're each used in different instances with time. But le temps is also the word we use for the weather. And so the first word that you see there is the word in avalas. An avalas. An avalas is the Louisiana French word for a downpour, a heavy downpour of rain. An avalas. Try that. An avalas. Okay. For a breeze, you say an brise. An brise. Or you might say an brise. An brise or an brise. Similar to pronunciation. These next 2 words that are on the packet, you have an colonne et un tourbillon. An colonne et un tourbillon. Those are 2 different words that you might find in Louisiana French for a tornado. And colonne is also the word for a column, and tourbillon is another word that you might find in Louisiana French for a tornado. I did was speaking to some folks. I think they were from St. Martin Parish. That they called it simply tornado, and I'm thinking that might have been what I said. Do you think that comes from English, tornado? And he said, well, no, I think it comes from French because tornado, which means to turn to the back. So something said, well, it turns like that. Tornado, it turns back to front. Torn is the word for, is a conjugation of the verb tourner, which is to turn, and do is your back, tornado. Now, in some regions, you will hear a fourth word. So you might hear colon, you might hear tourbillon, you might hear tornado, and in some regions, you might just hear un tornado. Sometimes we like to include, we might just use the English word. That's right. All right, heat. The word for heat is la chaleur. Try that, la chaleur, okay? That's not the word for hot. Some of you say, well, I thought it was chaud. Chaud is hot, okay? La chaleur is the noun for heat, okay? For example, if you ever go to Canada, north of New Brunswick and south of La Gaspésie in Quebec, there's a bay. It's called Baie des Chaleurs. Baie des Chaleurs, the Bay of Heat. I'm not sure that's a very hot bay as compared to Louisiana standards, but maybe for Canadian standards, it might have some heat. Okay. La glace, try that. La glace. La glace is the word for ice. La glace is the word for ice. Now, let's get to a little side point from the weather. La glace is the word for ice, okay? If you ever happen to go to France, you might see la glace on a menu. When they're in France, la glace is also the word they use for ice cream. What's interesting, in Louisiana French, we more often would use the term la crème for ice cream. So in France, they use the word for ice cream. In Louisiana French, we typically use the word crème for ice cream. Now, crème can also mean cream in Louisiana French, but if there's a distinction, usually you might hear, tu veux de la crème de lait? Do you want some milk cream? Parce que moi, je mets un peu de crème de lait dans mon café. Moi, j'aime un café qui est bien fort, mais j'aime aussi la crème de lait. I like my coffee that is a good, strong coffee, but I also like coffee with some cream in it. But not ice cream, not pas la crème glacée. Well, maybe so. That sounds good, actually. Okay, back to the weather. Okay. Hail, la grêle. Try that. La grêle. Very good. And le neige, and la neige is the snow. La neige, the snow. I said le because the next word was le nuage, which is a cloud. And again, when you're hearing me say la or le, la tells you it's a feminine word, le tells you it's a masculine word. In Louisiana French, you're going to hear me say un or an. It's a little sometimes hard to hear the difference for the article a or an, or the number one. And so when I say, so I could say, all right, I could say le nuage or un nuage, okay? Nuage or nuage, okay? La colonne ou un colonne. You can hear that kind of examples of how you hear those and. So, and again, sometimes you may hear un and une, but that's a little bit, that's when we're trying to be maybe a little bit more formal. But typically in Louisiana French, we'll probably say un or an. And it's found in some other variations of French around the world as well, where the un, the une become un and an. In fact, I think I was reading a book called Street French where they said in Paris it becomes, you might hear un and an, plutôt que un and une sometimes. So, kind of interesting. All right, the next word looks like the word ouragan, and sometimes pronounced like that, but Louisianians typically pronounce it ouragan. Try that. Ouragan. Very good. An ouragan is the word for a hurricane. Yes, a hurricane. Now, the noun rain is la pluie. Say it, la pluie. There is an L in it, but Louisiana French, we don't pronounce it, and it's not found. And again, that pronunciation of that L was also not found in certain regions of France. I've seen that as well in the past, that the L was not pronounced. So, la pluie rather than la pluie, I'm sorry, la pluie. But we say la pluie more often. All right. Le soleil, which is the weather, le soleil. Wind, le vent. Okay. Un brouillard is a fog. Le brouillard, the fog. Le brouillard. Now, the noun to rain in Louisiana French is mouiller. Internationally, it would be pleuvoir, but we tend to say the word mouiller. Okay. mouiller in international French means to wet. Now, for us in Louisiana French, to wet, we use the word tremper, so which in international means to soak. So we use tremper as to wet and mouiller as to rain. The noun rain, la pluie, the verb rain, ça va mouiller, it's going to rain. Okay. Neiger, neiger is to snow. It's the verb for it, to snow. And that one's kind of goes along with the noun form. Now, in French, you have a word to describe the action of it being windy, when wind is blowing outside. In English, we just say there's some wind or it's windy. But in French, you actually say a verb. It's winding, like it's raining or it's snowing. We say it's winding, and basically we use the verb to wind in a sense is venter, venter, because le vent is the wind. And to be winding, to have wind is venter. Okay. You have these two words, brumasser, try brumasser, okay, and grimacer, okay. Both of those are kind of like little misting kind of things, terms of misting. I'm not sure the origin, but well, brumasser, brume is like a type of fog, a misty fog, like brouillard. So brumasser, you can see the origin, brume, brumasser, la brume. Grimacer, I'm not sure if it actually is the origin of that. Maybe it's an old word, or maybe it sounded like grimacer, so people started saying grimacer. Or maybe when they went outside and was misting, somebody made in grimace. Ooh, grimacer. Because for me, grimacer also means to make a grimace, make a face, you know, grimace. Okay. It's nice weather out. For it's nice weather out, you can say il fait du beau temps, c'est du beau temps dehors, or c'est une belle journée, it's a beautiful day. Beau temps, remember beau temps meaning nice weather, okay? Things like that. Right? C'est un vilain temps. Typically when it's bad weather, instead of saying the word for bad, we can say mauvais temps, but more often we say un vilain temps, which means it's ugly day, ugly weather. We say vilain is the word for ugly in Louisiana French. So c'est un vilain temps, that means it's like c'est du mauvais temps, c'est pas du beau temps, it's not a nice weather out, okay? It's a beautiful day. C'est une belle journée. C'est une belle journée. Now, one of the expressions we're going to use with weather words a lot is we're going to use the verb faire. The verb faire has two meanings. It means to do or to make. But when we use it with a weather word, it means to describe the weather. Okay. Let me give you a different example. For example, if I wanted to say it's hot, like my coffee is hot. Okay. I would say c'est chaud, or ça c'est chaud. But if I wanted to say the weather is hot, you're going to hear two versions. You're going to hear ça fait chaud or il fait chaud in Louisiana French. Ça fait chaud is more south central, southwestern parts of the states, southeastern parts of the states. Il fait chaud, which is also more internationally. Il ou il fait chaud. So mon café, c'est chaud. My coffee, it's hot. The weather, ça fait chaud. So so it gives you an idea whenever you have that temperature word following it. It's a little difference between the two. Il fait beau or ça fait beau means it's nice weather, it's beautiful outside. Huh? Il fait ou ça fait couvert, il fait gris. Those are words that we might use to mean it's overcast. Couvert meaning covered, gris meaning gray. Okay? Ça fait humide, it's humid. Okay? Il fait mauvais, it means it's bad weather outside. All right? All right? Ça fait soleil, ça fait du soleil. Il y a du soleil. Il y a du soleil. Those are different words you can use to mean it's some sun outside. Il mouillasse, that's kind of like drizzly, light rain. Il mouillasse, okay? Il y a des nuages. Huh? It means there are some clouds. Il y a, we pronounce typically ya or iya, meaning there or there is. Il y a des nuages. Il y a du soleil. Il y a du vent. There's some wind, or il y a un vent. You can say there is a wind. Le temps est beau. Oh, the weather is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful weather. Okay. Et le temps est couvert. The weather is overcast. It's cloudy, which I think today in Louisiana it's supposed to be couvert aujourd'hui. Ça fait couvert. So these are different weather words that we've done today. Please Facebook message me if you have any questions about the weather words, and we could talk more about the use of the weather words. when we talk about the weather. And again, just a little point again about the term, what you're going to hear with that verb I just mentioned, the verb faire. Faire is the verb to make or to do, or in weather terms, it means to have a certain weather that exists. You're going to hear it most of the time as the word fait. When it's conjugated, it's fait. Let me give you an example of how you hear faire and fait. Okay, all right. Ça fait chaud. It's hot today. The weather is hot. Ça va faire chaud. It's going to be hot today. Okay. Il fait couvert. Il fait couvert means it's overcast today. Ça va faire couvert. Okay. It means it's going to be overcast today. So you can have different terms like that to describe the weather, like in the future. Okay. So you're going to hear, the reason you hear faire in the future is because faire again means to have this weather. Okay. Fait is having this weather at this moment. Okay. So faire is to have this weather. So on est ça va faire couvert, ça va faire chaud, ça va faire froid, froid meaning the word for cold. Ça va, so what you're just saying is it's going to be this weather. We are going to have this weather. Okay. And that's why it's the future tense there. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. Continue practicing. Please ask questions on the chat group. I will be back. Hopefully I'll do another video tomorrow and then probably Friday. I was not able to do one yesterday on Monday. But hopefully I'll be able to do another one tomorrow on Friday, and maybe one other one on Friday. But at least one more this week, and hopefully 2 more this week that we'll do. Next time we're going to talk about the family, la famille, and how do we describe members of our family in Louisiana French, okay? Et parce qu'on passe beaucoup de temps avec la famille à cette heure. We spend a lot of time with our families right now, and at least our immediate families, I know. For me, it's mostly with just my wife and my dog, ma femme et mon chien. And but I love to talk to mon pop and my mom, my father and my mother on the telephone. But hopefully keeping well, and on va avoir une autre leçon dans pas longtemps. Okay? Soignez-vous les amis, soignez les autres. Bye bye.